Hello there guys, it's Captain Invisible here and welcome to another Medieval 2 Total War online commentary battle. This was a siege battle, 1 versus 1 siege, sent in by Paladinbob. So yeah, it's a battle replay of his. He is playing as France, and in typical Bob fashion, he is playing with a ton of these pikemen. He's got some of these Flemish pikemen, these standard pikemen, and some Swiss pikemen somewhere. And as I say, he's just got tons of them, absolutely. I want to say 4 of each, but that would probably be a lie. There's probably more than 4 of each. And then he's also filling in his ranks with these Volger and and then he's got his missile components. A lot of these Aventurier and the Scots Guard on this side here. So yeah, I've seen a few of Bob's videos where he uses these sort of units and these sort of tactics. But this is the first one I've commentated on purely because I've not had a chance to do them with his other videos. But yeah, a lot of these Volger, a lot of pikemen. You know, just a very spear-heavy army component. His opponent, who is Meh, is playing as Poland. So Meh as Poland, and there's a couple of I noticed a couple of very important mistakes that have been made. The first one is Meh is playing as Poland. Poland is not a very good siege faction. They're only decent infantry, these dismounted Polish knights, and after that you're really struggling in terms of infantry. You have to use these halberd militia to fill in your ranks, and you're forced to use these sort of dismounted Polish nobles, which are not very good against other heavy infantry. So that's the first mistake. You're sort of bringing Poland, which is a cavalry-oriented faction, to a siege battle is not going to end very well. What he's also done as well is he's split his army up into 3 different bits. As useful as that is, it's going to mean that he's not going to be able to apply too much pressure on one side. He's going to struggle to really put the hammer down. He should really be gunning for this flank and pushing for this flank, and if he does it right, there's nothing Paladinbob can do to stop him. These Aventurier are good in melee, but they're not the quality of these dismounted Polish knights. So he should really be looking to push this wall hard, which he is with his best troops, but he's not doing it. He's not doing it very well for starters. He's losing a lot of these knights marching up towards the walls. He's got them in tight formation, and they're just taking crossbow and longbow fire all the way up to these walls. And as he's got nothing to back these guys up, it's a real shame. And right here, I mean, he loses these towers here, these 2 towers,
the enemy are battering down
which halves his frontage against this, and then he loses another one.
The enemy siege
So
towers reach
this
the
has
wall.
become
Lead our way.
a bottleneck basically for this siege tower.
The enemy siege tower is kindling
That
now.
is going to be
Pay
terrible
for they
with
may
these
try another
towers,
trick.
and these ones up here firing down at this wall. It's going to
Our
be
enemy's ladders have reached the wall.
bad for his
Time for
Polish
butcher's
knights.
work.
And then again, over here he's battering down the gates with a ram.
has broken through our gates. Montjoie Sandy, the enemy siege tower is now destroyed.
Sorry, there's going to be a lot of those messages, I'm afraid. So this is an okay strategy, but with all these towers and these archers, it's going to really hurt his men. He's going to suffer so many losses here that he's going to run out of troops basically to use when he's actually inside. And as you can see, these Polish nobles have managed to get on top of the walls, and they've been met with absolutely no resistance. And you'd think this is bad, but these walls are very far away from the town centre. You actually have to make it down this way to actually get to the town centre. So if Paladinbob can block this route, which he is going to do, then these Polish nobles are just going to get tied up here. Whereas this wall is very important, because if you can take this wall, then you have a direct line of sight to the town centre. And as you've probably already deduced from watching other players' videos, you put archers on here and you can rain down death all the way around here. You'll get shots into the back here, into the town centre, down here at this choke point. You could even fire down here if there were troops down here. There's just so many utilities for this wall. But these poor Polish knights are going to take tower fire, and they're going to get tied down by these Scots Guard. Now, Scots Guard are not going to kill them, certainly not very quickly anyway, but that's not their job. Their job is to tie down these knights and then have the towers fire at them. And there's probably going to be some support fire coming in and some more Scots Guard in the flank. It's going to be a very bloody fight for these walls. And I say over here, there's no need to sit outside the walls like this. I mean, look at all the casualties that have been suffered already. It's very hard to attack here. There's no easy way to attack this gate, because you're just going to be coming into a choke point, and this one is full of pikemen. And these poor halberdiers are going to realise how hard it is to fight in a choke point against pikemen. So as you can see, pikemen really doing their work here. This is what Bob likes about pikemen, and what I also really like about them. The fact that you can just hold a choke point forever with them, and if you choose the wrong infantry to attack them with, you're going to lose some heavy casualties. Halberds just do not have the push power to really take on pikemen. These Polish nobles will do better. As you can see, they're really getting into the mix and forcing the pikemen to bug out. That's what these vulgairs are for, just for pushing back the enemy and making them feel just push them back away from the pikes and allow the pikes to reset. And the vulgairs will do this very well against the dismounted Polish nobles. So that's the gatehouse. As I said, the towers are still firing at the enemy. The lack of siege the lack of siege artillery should not stop you from being able to take this castle effectively. As I say, it was unfortunate that all the towers set on fire. But that's why you bring ladders. That's why you bring your extra troops. If you would have had ladders here, ladders cannot set on fire. So he could have set them up where the towers were failing to get to. He could have really utilised ladders effectively on this side, but these towers were wasted on the other side. Setting up over here where they are basically there's no resistance. Set a couple of pikemen down here. So it looks like all the Polish nobles from this side are fighting on this wall.
The enemy is badly blooded.
At least
they have lost half their
they
men.
look like they were. I think they're pushing against these pikemen, which, fortunately for these Polish nobles, pikemen are not good on the walls, so he's managed to easily break through these pikemen, and he should then be able to bring his troops down here and will hopefully flank this position, because these, this position here has been causing some mayhem. And there's some Flemish pikemen and some Volgers here now taking a cavalry strike. These two units will do very well against cavalry, but I think the mass of the cavalry will eventually break through these weakened units. Back on the wall, the Polish knights are still fighting on, but they're being weakened here. They're being worn down, weakened. Their numbers being taken down, and these are not cheap units. The amount of upgrades they've got on them, they should be killing more men than this, but they're getting bogged down. And these towers don't give a crap about upgrades. They're just going to fire at you, and you're going to die when you get hit by them. I think armor stops them, but it'll only take 2 hits to kill any unit, regardless of armor. So the massive Polish cavalry has finally broken through, and if it was any other siege battle with any other army, I would think that this is a very big problem. But against a pike army, you're not going to have there's going to be nothing to stop these the pikemen will stop these cavalry from roaming about. Whereas if there was heavy infantry down here, this street is plenty long enough to get a decent charge off with. And even if you don't get a decent charge, the mass of the cavalry is enough to push through and you get some other kills. But as I said, Paladinbob likes his pikemen, so it's going to be a tough fight against these long pole-armed units for the cavalry. But we're going to try get an attack against them anyway, by the looks of it. Now, fortunately, this is one of the many problems with pikemen. They kind of bug out and kind of just stand there and don't quite know what's going on. It looks like a lot of them have dropped the pikes and are using swords, which is obviously not going to be very good against cavalry. In fact, a lot of them are bugged out. A lot of them don't really know what's going on. By the time the pikemen look to be reforming, the cavalry's already gone. Yes, a strange siege battle. There seems to be a lot going on and not a lot going on as well. It's kind of just units stood around, not really performing. I mean, these cavalry just stood around here, just not doing anything, and got lots of dismounted Polish nobles just wandering around. And it looks like these Polish knights have finally broken or been killed. So bloody fight for the walls, which has gone the Scots Guard and the Aventuriers way. And this is a problem with having cavalry in a siege. It's not going to be that effective in melee, so you're going to be stuck, especially against someone with pikes, you're going to be stuck not really moving, and with these towers they're going to cause a lot of problems. The best way to use cavalry in a siege is to use them as a flanking force. So
the enemy have the walls.
If the enemy was protecting, say, this section, but wasn't protecting this section, but was maybe protecting this section, you could swing cavalry around quickly and get a hammer and anvil before these infantry reacted. That's going to be your best way of using cavalry in a siege. But to be honest, cavalry in a siege it's not it's not going to do you any good. These are very expensive Polish cavalry, and they're being, it's money wasted because they're not being used at all. So the pikes have now reset and are going to hammer against these dismounted Polish knights. All the Poles have left are the archers and some of these returning units that were routing, and obviously all the cav, which is at this point useless.
Our men have slain the enemy general. Now his men will lose heart.
I've still got these Polish nobles, but they seem to be, again, they're not doing anything. So yeah, as I said earlier, as good as sort of splitting your force up is, you need to split your force up and then use that to distract your enemy. I mean, to be honest, attacking this wall would have been enough. Just putting all the pressure on this wall, getting your archers up on the walls and shredding these pikemen. But if you are going to surround your enemy in a siege, you have to surround your enemy in a siege. Apply pressure on all flanks, on all sides, and just basically batter your enemy to bits, and create more fires than your enemy can put out.
Our men are winning the battle.
Just apply so much pressure, so many problems for your opponent that they don't have the troops to set up enough of a defense everywhere, and you'll eventually break through and have that breakthrough you need to then flank part of his army or whatever. It's one of those risky scenarios, because if you split your army up like this player did, like Med did, you end up risking your army being too divided. And if your army's too divided, you end up losing part of your army, whilst your other army is either moving or getting into position, and it becomes a nightmare for an attacking side. So it looks like a last-ditch attempt being thrown in by Meh. All his cavalry and infantry now thrown against this halberd and pike line. Paladinbob's going to show us why these pikemen, even these cheap pikemen and Volger, are so cost-effective in the hands of a skilled player such as him. His forces pushing forward against these Polish nobles, and this is what Paladinbob does. This is his tactic. The whole Volger and pike combination, just being able to push through the enemy and really get into positions where he can basically force the enemy to do as he wants. Paladinbob doing really well here, and it just goes to show that pikes can be used in a siege. They are quite effective in siege defense, and even cheap pikemen can do their job just as well. Still some infantry fighting at the front. I mean, these Polish knights are better than the Volger, so they might sort of be able to kill a lot of these Volgers, but there's only 7 of them, and I think at this stage there's too many Volger units now, or too many Volger men, should I say. If you took them off spear wall and just charged them in, they would outnumber the Polish knights and would be able to probably defeat them. So I think the pikemen are starting to get broken up a bit here, but
Battle is very much in our
Paladinbob is
favor.
trying to
If we
reset them
remain
and
true
get them
steadfast,
back into
victory will
good
be
order.
ours.
The cavalry's trying to pull through the pikemen, which it can do whilst the pikemen are being a bit glitchy, but I'm not sure what where he expects to go with them, because he's now got pikemen down this flank, ready to trap him in. He's got pikemen coming this way to trap him in. You know, this Polish cavalry is going to be in the last place it wants to be, and that's trapped between pikemen. We've even got some archer fire coming in.
All of Christendom will be awed by our victory here
And
today.
looks like the Polish have finally admitted defeat. Victory just slipping out of their hands. And Paladin's pike wall tactic still holding its title there. So he had a few. It looks like he had a few Flemish pikemen in reserve that he didn't use. A couple of Swiss pikemen as well that he didn't use. There's some kills on some pikemen here. There isn't that many decent kills on these pikemen except for this one. That one's probably at the gate, but you know, he has a handful of these pikemen that actually did quite well, and some of the Volger. I think it was mainly the Scotsguard and the Aventurier that got quite a lot of kills against some high-value targets. The other pikemen, simply because he had so many units, just getting 20 kills here, 15 there, it all adds up, and it really did. I mean, 974 kills with such a tactic compared to 803 kills for Meh with his Polish force. So yeah, a couple of lessons to take from this, if anything, if you even care. One, Poland really not a good siege faction. I mean, if you want a challenge, go ahead, but really Poland just doesn't have that siege potential, and it's going to be a problem to even try that. It's going to end up causing you so much trouble in these siege battles with the lack of infantry. And also, if you're going to split your army up to attack a siege, you've got to make sure that each component has enough support that it's going to be able to still handle itself, even if there's going to be issues like losing siege equipment, burning siege equipment, and troops getting killed on the walls. It was unfortunately lost all his siege towers bar one, and it became a choke point battle, which you really want to avoid in any Total War game. Your choke points are going to be the death of your army, unless you've got the smaller army and you need that choke point. So yeah, he split his army up. The ladders with the ladders over at this side with the Polish nobles just didn't provide any threat, because Paladinbob had some pikemen here that were blocking this side. The Polish nobles had to go around this side, which was where he had some more pikemen protection. So it was a bit of a difficult situation for those guys, and for these guys at the gate, it was always going to be a slaughter. I mean, these guys were all killed by archers and the towers. So attacking this gatehouse really is a problem, and you really have to understand how to avoid unnecessary casualties like this in these kinds of conflicts. But definitely this wall is the most important one in this castle, and you really have to apply pressure onto it in order to get that advantage. So I hope you enjoyed this battle. I had some free time, so I decided just to do a quick commentary on this battle. But I really did enjoy it. It's always nice to see Paladinbob use pikemen to their best, and this really was a good battle to show this kind of a strategy. But yeah, I mean, it was against the Polish, but it just goes to show how effective pikemen can be at holding choke points, and with the use of the melee capable archers and crossbowmen. Paladinbob really did defend this one quite well against the Polish forces. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this battle. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you all in the next video.